HaKadosh Boker Or Masechet Nazir Daf Mem Tet Amud Aleph 49a1. We are going back to Shitat Rabbi Akiva, and we ask Rabbi Akiva, and according to Shitat Rabbi Akiva, Mifti, let us see. Lo shna kohen lechudeh velo shna kohen gadol v'hu nazir. Doesn't matter whether we're talking about a kohen gadol on its own, or whether we're talking about a kohen gadol that he's also a nazir. We learned that it's huadin, right? It's the same halacha to do with respect of a met mitzvah. Nafka, they learn it out from leachiv, right? The what? That from leachiv you learn that the kohen gadol or a kohen gadol nazir cannot become tameh to leachiv, but he could become tameh to a met mitzvah. So leaviv ulimo lamali. So why do I need leaviv ulimo? If you already know that from leachiv you cannot become tameh leachiv, but you could become tameh to a mitzvah, so why do I need then la'aviv ulimo? At the end of the day, obviously, right, the word la'aviv is extra, and even if limo, right, you still need it. What do you need according to Shitat Rabbi Akiva then? So says the Gemara, you need it. Why do you need it? Di'ikatav aviv, if it was only written aviv the father, I would have thought to say, why can a person not become tameh to his father? Mishum de chazaka be'almahu. The father is only a chazaka that he's your father. How do you know that your father is your father? Yeah? You don't know who your father is 100% your father. It's a chazaka, right? It's a chazaka. Yeah, avalimo, but the mother, we know exactly who gave birth to you or not. Litamela. Yeah? You should become tameh to her. And therefore, because of that, when it says limo, yeah, also, right, that's why he's saying that even to imo eno metameh. So therefore, when it said le'aviv, I would have thought to say that it's only because of chazakah, but really, be'emet le'aviv no, to limo, yes. By the way, it's based upon this, that there was a minhag etzel the Sfaradim, Rav Ovadia brings this down, that you go after the mother.
The name.
Meaning, for example,
people in Venezuela, they do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that they go after the mother, meaning that even for nachalot, they would go after the mother. Now, there is another shita, I know that you go after, right, the father. Why do you go after the father? Because the father is the one that does all the concepts of Yerusha and of nachalot. So, for example, you're Shevet Reuven. How do you know you're Shevet Reuven? From your father, not from your mother. Your mother just tells you that you're Jewish, but your father is the one that teaches you which Shevet you come from. Yeah, but again, this is the reason why, was they said that since for sure this is not just the chazakah, this is the father, this is 100%, but the mother is 100% your mother. So katav rachmana, therefore the Torah writes imo. So havamina, I would have thought to say, now if right now the Torah would have only written imo and not leaviv. So again, one more time, why did I need aviv? Because I would have thought, if I would have only written imo, I would have said that it was only imo, not aviv. Why? Because the father is only a chazakah. It's not for sure. Now, if it would have been only written imo lo metabela, batra, because it does not go after her family. Aval aviv, kevan da'amar mol mishpechotam levet avotam, iman letabela. Right? Kamash Malan comes teach you, right? That's why you needed both of them, which means like this. Each one has a pro and a cons. And this is exactly what we just mentioned 2 seconds ago. Each one has a negative and a positive. The negative of the father is that there's no such thing as 100% that you know it's a father. Nowadays, there's whole questions, by the way, about paternal tests, but they always had paternal tests. Just depends each one. And every single time they kept on coming out with something which was much more precise. In medicine, they kept on saying, this is the real one. You know what I'm saying? They kept on doing that. But if you remember when we gave an entire shiur on the DNA and everything, you remember already that already from the time of High Gaon, right? They already had a paternal test to check, right, the bones and with the blood. You remember that if it was the same blood, it would absorb, right? We give on Shavuot night. It would absorb into the bones. So that was the paternal test of more than 1,000 years ago. You understand? Then they came out with blood tests. So then, no. This is a real paternal test. You do a blood test, and then you can find out who's the father. Now they do more than blood. Now they do actual DNA. They do DNA testing, and but you see that as science advances, they keep on saying this is the real paternal test. So there's whole questions: can you actually rely upon that or not? It's not that you do that upon closed eyes. Meaning, it could be that it could also help like a chazakah, like the same thing that we're doing here. But to say 100%, that's already you understand. That's already a little bit, because if not, then you know what you could do. Imagine right now you do that test, right, of the DNA, and you have the same chromosome of the Kohen. Can imagine right now, Baba Haki is going to come to the Bet Knesset this morning. He's going to say, you know what? I'm a Kohen. I'm going to say, yeah, how much did it cost you? Yeah, well, you bought it. He says, no. I did a DNA test, and I have the same chromosome as the Kohanim. I'm a Kohen. We don't accept it.
You know what? But that would be more reliable than what we do.
And the reason why we don't accept it is because at the end of the day, right, we do not accept something new of evidence, because the evidence always evolves. Evidence always evolves. It always changes. Just like I told you that 50 years ago, they would tell you that the blood test is the most accurate, and there's nothing more accurate than the blood test. And all of a sudden now, they come and they say, no, there's something more accurate than blood test. What's that? That's the, how do you call it? The DNA, right? And part of it is because you could have the chromosome of a Kohen also through your mother, lav dafka through the father. So therefore, it doesn't mean that means you could have a chromosome of a Kohen because maybe your grandmother was a Kohenet, but not that your father or the grandfather was. Saying there's a lot of things also as well. So therefore, because of that, we cannot just come and say blindly, you know what? You do a DNA test and that's it.
It's true that we blindly accept someone who says,
yeah. So basically, right, what happens here is you have a pros and cons by each one. From the mother, it's a certain that she's your mother. Yeah? From the mother, it's a certain you're the mother. But the father is only a chazakah. From Mitzad Shani, the mother only tells you you're Jewish. Doesn't tell you what mishpacha you come from. And therefore, to do with the mishpachot levet avotam, it goes after the father. So if I have to know the father, right, which is more important than the mother. Okay? Fine. So now the pasuk says, "Ve'al kol nafsho met lo yavo lamali." According to this, why do I need the pasuk al nefesh me lo yavo, which is said by a nazir? So then, why do I need to say by the Kohen Gadol ve'al kol nafsho me lo yavo? Right. So why do I need this pasuk then? Okay. Memtet amud bet 49b. Al kol, the word al kol is leapuke rechokin. When it says al kol nafshot met, on any body of a deceased person, that means to teach you that Kohen Gadol cannot become tameh to somebody which is rachok. Rachok means not a family member. Met leapuke krovin. So al kol is what is on the rechokim. Met is krovim, the family members. Nafshot is blashon rabim. Doesn't say nefesh. Nafshot. להפוק רביעית דם שיצא משני מתים, שמטמא באוהל. If you have a רביעית of דם, רביעית, right, 86 cc, 86 mils of blood is מטמא. That's why you have to bury the blood as well. Yeah? So, because the neshama is also tulia in the blood, and blood is actually מטמא. Has to be a רביעית of blood. But what happens if you have רביעית from two different deceased? You have a רביעית together. It's going to be מטמא באוהל. Shnemar al kol nafshot met lo yavo. When it says nafshot, the fact that it said nafshot in plural, you were taking the two bloods together of two deceased per people, and when you put them together, it's going to be mitzaref. It's going to combine to what? To be mitameh beohel, which means it's going to be mitameh right in the tent. So if a person goes inside, they would become tamemet. So because of that, that's how you needed the pasuk of al kol nafshot met lo yavo. So one more time, the Kohen Gadol, right? The corpse are not there. Let's say the corpse is not there, but you only have the blood. It's still going to be mitameh if it's got a revid. But the chidush is not only a revid of one deceased, even if you have a revid combined of two different deceased. That's why it says nafshot met. It's still going to come, and it's still going to be metameh beohel. Okay, this is until the Mishnah. Mishnah comes on Memtet Amubet 49b. The Mishnah comes a Mishnah and says, Al elu tumot hanazir megaleach. On which tumot does the nazir come and he's going to be megaleach, right, for a nazir? So he comes and he says like this, yeah. He says, alamet, whether it's going to be on a met, right, on a deceased, gal kezait minamet, on a kezait of a deceased, meaning, right, you have a kezait of the flesh, okay, that's what it is. Now again, all these things is always according to the naked eye, right? Somebody once asked me, it's batel b'shishim, you know what batel b'shishim is? If you have a big pot of adafina, and all of a sudden a drop of milk comes in, right? You're going to come and you have to say, do you have 60 times? I'm just saying, what, do you have a measuring cup? Do you have this? But again, right, you're doing it with the naked eye, approximately of what it is. Many times it's either obvious or it's not obvious, and then you get into the sfikot, okay? So you have here on the deceased, or on a kazait of the deceased, meaning even if you only have a kazait of, right, the flesh or of the body, val kazait netzel, or even basar met, which is nirkav v'nimuach, which means mamash, it started becoming rotten, right? It started rotting the flesh of the deceased. Even a kazait of that is going to be mitameh. Val melot arvad rakav, or for example, you have melot arvad is a type of a big serving spoon, right? It's like a kaf gadol, it's a big spoon, right, of the met, which means that after it already lost its lachut, its moisture, right, and therefore it became like afar. So mamash, it's like dust already because it already became, it lost its moisture. Yeah, ala shidra vala gulgolet. We're talking about whether it's a spinal cord, right, or the skull. That means even though there's no flesh at all, there's only bones, right? Because beforehand, when it said kazait, it's kazait basar, it's mamash flesh. Here we're talking about just the bones. So we're talking about the shidra or the gulgolet, val ever minamet, or even an organ of the deceased, val ever minachai. Or even an organ of a person that's alive, but that it has flesh. Yeah, it's also going to be mitameh. That means even if the guy was alive. So, for example, they had to cut off someone's hand.
So Cohen cannot be a surgeon?
If they're going to cut off the hand, yeah, it's a very problem. Yeah, it depends what type of surgery, obviously, right? But if right now they're going to have an organ, and on the organ, right, you have, right, the basar kara'ui, it's going to be a problem. Vel chatzi kav atzamot, or a half of a kav of atzamot. A kav again is going to be like 24 eggs in how do you call this, in nefach, in volume. So therefore, if you're going to have a half of a kav of bones of the deceased, yeah, ve'al chetzi log, or a half of a log of blood, right? So here it's actually bringing down half of a log and not a revi'it of the log, right? It's double, right? Depends what you call a lot. Remember, if you hold a revi'it is 86.
Revi'it is a quarter of a log.
Is a quarter of a log. Revi'it, reva, right? A quarter. So if you say it's 86 cc, it's okay. So it's 170, right? 106, 172. Understand? Now, if you tell me it's 150, so it's 300. You're right. It's a lot in comparison to what it is. It's double to what we just mentioned. When we're talking about a lot, it's not. We're not talking about such huge amounts. Remember, yeah, a chetzi log of blood, right, from the met. So here it says that it's basically the revi'it is going to be mitameh be'ohel, but halachah Moshe Sinai, the nazir is only going to be megaleach on chetzi log. Yeah. That means even though revi'it is already mitameh ba'ohel, which means that you come into a room, right? Remember, mitameh ba'ohel means you come into a building, into a room that has a roof. That's called mitameh. So it's mitameh ba'ohel, already on a revi'it, but to do with bringing a korban, right? That's only going to be halachah Moshe Misirai. It's only going to be half a log, okay? Val magan, val masan, val ahilan, right? Or whether it's going to be the touching, carrying, right? Magav masal ve'ohel, val etzem kaseora, right? An etzem is on the bone, like a seora. It has to be like a barley bean. Al magao val masao, which is only going to be on touching it and carrying it, but not be'ohel. Meaning again, to be mitameh be'ohel is always worse than touching. Touching is much more, right? Meaning oil, you need a bigger amount, bigger quantity. But touching, you're much closer to the deceased. So it's only even going to be a smaller amount. Al elu hanazir megaleach. So on these things, the nazir is going to come and start cutting his hair. And he has to do the hazah. What is the hazah? The sprinkling of the paraduma. Remember that a paraduma, we just learned it in this parasha para. Bashlishi uvashvi'i. Vesoteret hakonim, and he's going to vatel everything that happened until now. You remember that we said vayamim harishonim yipelu, which means that the second that a person became tameh, right, the nazir, so therefore he destroys the previous count. You remember the story of the Hilnia Malka, that she was 7 years, and then again, if she became tameh, so then again you start again. Iowa, you just did 7. No. You're going to have to start again, right? The count. That's what it means. Ve'eno matchil limnot, and you're not going to start a new nazirut, ela ad she'itar, until you become tehorat, until you become tahor, and then you're going to bring your korbanot. So this is all the Mishnah about the different halachot. About, again, we're talking about the nazir migaleach. It's not the exact same thing as tum'ah v'tara. It's a little bit more. Until when do we say that the nazir will come and have to take the haircut and have to destroy his nazirut and have to bring a korban, right, and so on and so forth, right?
When we talk about
we learned in a braita. After the ptira of Rabbi Meir, Amar le'en Rabbi Yehuda l'talmidav. Rabbi Yehuda went and he told the students, Ali kanes talmidei Rabbi Meir lekan. I don't want the students of Rabbi Meir to come into my Bet HaMidrash. So imagine Rabbi Meir passed away, and he went and he tells the students, I don't want his students, right, the students of Rabbi Meir, to come into the Bet HaMidrash here. Why? Because they are kantarin. Velo lilmod Torah em ba'in, right? And they don't come to learn Torah, ela lekepachani ba'alachot, but rather to come, they're coming, which means like this, right? When people come to learn, right, you could tell by their questions, right? Are they coming to really learn? Or are they coming to show off? Or they're coming to stump you, as they say, right, in English. So therefore, he comes and he says, I don't want these students here, right? Why? Because they're not coming to really learn, right? And you could tell by a question. A valid question is, I don't understand, right? What does that mean, I don't understand? I don't understand. When I come and ask you a question, I'm trying to stump you, that's not I don't understand. No, but how could you say such a thing? Or right? You could also say I don't understand and then say the exact same thing, but it has to be in the form of what is the question formed, okay? So he says, Dachak sumchus v'nichnas. Sumchus pushed his way in, and he got in. So Amar lahem, Sumchus went and he told the students of Rabbi Yehuda, Kach shanali Rabbi Meir. Do you know, this is what Rabbi Meir taught me. Al elu tumot nazir megaleach. On which tumot is the nazir megaleach? Al amet, al kazayit min amet, v'chule v'chule v'chule. And he told them the entire Mishnah. Yeah, so this is what Rabbi Meir taught me. Kach Rabbi Yehuda v'amar lahem. Right? Rabbi Yehuda got upset and he told the students, Lo kach amarti lahem lachem. Didn't I tell you guys? Ali kansu tamidei Rabbi Meir lekan neshek kantarinen. He says, Al kezait min amet megaleach. Al amet lo kol sheken. I don't understand. If you're going to tell me al kezait min amet, right, that you're going to be metameh, so on the met itself lo kol sheken, why did the Mishnah have to bring it down? So therefore, you do not have to have the girsa in the Mishnah al amet. One more time. What was the girsa that he told them? Al elu tumot nazir megaleach, right? Al amet vel kezait min amet. That's our Mishnah on the deceased and a kezait of the deceased. If you just told me that even if you have a kezait, right, that means you have 28 grams of flesh of the deceased. You're going to have to cut off the hair and everything. So kal v'chomer on the deceased himself. Why do you even have to have it in the Mishnah? Doesn't even make sense. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yoseh, says Rabbi Yoseh, yeah, yomeru, right, mean shachav Yuda kas, Yosi shatak. So Rabbi Yoseh, he was there at the time. And he went and he said, 1 second, they're going to say that Rabbi Meir passed away, Rabbi Yehuda got all upset, and Rabbi Yoseh kept quiet. How could it be? Torah matel, what's going to happen with the Torah? Amar Rabbi Yoseh, says Rabbi Yoseh, lo nitzechal lemet she'en alav kezeh basar. We're talking, when it says met, it means the met did not have basar. When we said kezait basar min met, it was a kezait of the flesh. When you said the met, because we said kal v'chomer, if on a kezait of the basar, you're going to become tameh, kal v'chomer on the met itself, you're going to become tameh. It says no, the met was without any basar. There was no flesh on it. That's why it said met. It was a completely different halakha. So because of that, that's why he had to have it over there. And still, we're going to start asking on Rabbi Yosef, and that's when we're going to come and we're going to start asking, answering, back and forth. Have a wonderful day, everyone.